So coming back to like where reuse fits, generally speaking, in today's world, I think it's interesting that like you immediately took that into the drafting side of things, and I think this shows the diversity of like thought and also like the breadth of like what you have to think about from a reuse perspective. Whereas I think most people are thinking about where does reuse fit inside of how we effectively deliver content. Like, is it still valuable to have reuse on the back end to enable the types of delivery that we want downstream?
So reuse in AI is a funny thing. I don't know if there's any generative or AI SEO experts yet. This seems to be a very...
GEO experts? There's a lot of people that say they're GEO experts.
We haven't even agreed that the acronym is GEO. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, some people call it AEO.
Yeah, so this is a very new field. So the expert is, it's like the one-eyed man is king in the land of the blind. So I'm not claiming to be a GEO expert, but what I have seen is they do like duplication. Like the one of the big search engine no-nos was don't duplicate content. But what I've found is the more you consistently say your message across multiple points, then as a pattern matching thing, AI seem to like that. So I think consistency in reproducing the same thing in the right context makes sure that that thing will, increases your reliability, that thing will turn up. This is a very interesting question here, because whose AI are we talking about? Right. Because are we talking about, do you want Google to surface your stuff just crawling the web? Or are we talking about your agent in your implementation that you serve to your customers and your control with your backend? It's very different things.
Totally. And I think that actually touches really nicely on the idea of like, are these channels? How do you manage them? Like, is it just another channel? So when you say Google, do you mean Gemini or do you mean Google search?
Exactly. We've got 5 minutes till it's one and the same.
Right.
So
it is one and the same now.
Yeah. So I was just paying respect to the fact that you even made the separation. So because on my phone, for example, now it is they've taken away the old interface. It goes straight into chat when I search for anything. That's like as of a week ago. I don't know how we're in Spain, so they roll stuff out a bit later. Okay. But when I Google something on my phone, it immediately takes me into chat. I no longer see web results for a lot of queries, and I think
so are you seeing AI preview and then or are you seeing actual chat? Because I see AI preview and then web results.
So I don't anymore.
You see no web results.
No, I see what you would see if you put the same thing into Gemini.google.com is what I see when I launch my Google app now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So that's not what I see.
Yeah. So, and I thought that was interesting. This is like literally as of 5 days ago. So it used to be there's a preview at the top and then normal results at the bottom. And I had to click into AI mode to get into full chat. Now it's taking me, for several types of queries, it's taking me straight into full chat. And it doesn't bother with the results below. I'm not going to question Google's strategy, but my point is, I'd be happy to question Google's strategy. Actually, I'm not going to question it in this case.
In this very moment.
Because I think that once you've really gotten used to AI search, I don't think there's any going back. I'm stretching my brain trying to think of a scenario where I would rather search through human written pages. It's been a year and it's obsolete for me. I don't want to click through a bunch of links, read through a bunch of SEO. What is more awful to read than an SEO optimized page? They're the worst. Yeah. They're just hideous, keyword rich. They're awful. So I wanted to write an article about this.
But nobody would have read it.
No, I never. I have 60,000 articles I've never published. So I wanted to write an article about how we ruined the internet by writing for machines. We had to write for the machines in order to get it found. And so what that results in is these big blobby, keyword-rich, deep pages that are just the right length that the AI search algorithm says, oh, that sounds like a good, solid resource. I'm going to rank it. And page authority and people linking to it. And so when you just do want an answer, or you don't want to dive into a 3-page read, it's hard to find that on the open web.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So the places that I still go into like proper pages are recipes. And then I just click the jump to recipe button. Like I don't ever actually read all the junk they put in front of it. But I don't really want AI's generated preview for that because like I want to actually have a human's perspective on this. And I don't know that that will ever change for me. Like to me, I think that's pretty persistent.
That's a really just. I'm going to say this because I find it interesting. That was actually my specific example.
Of where you don't.
The opposite, yes.
Really?
Because when I don't really follow recipes. Like when I cook, I want to know what the ingredients are and how hot to cook it. Everything else, like I'm gonna fill in the gaps.
I modify recipes as I cook them.
Yeah.
But I really do want to I want somebody who's a chef to have given me the base.
Yeah. There are cases. There are cases where I will do that. Like it's a very particular thing, and I'm doing that on purpose. But for my day-to-day looking for information, I just want I'm just looking up the fundamentals, and I'll take it from there. And I often think about how, coming back to TechCom, if I'm serving engineers, like when I do interviews with them, it's interesting how often they don't want to read the process. They just want to be reminded of a couple
Absolutely
things. And so they're like, and that I think there's some parallels there. There's when you're talking to users of different skill levels, there's times, and I agree with you, there are times when I would want to go and I want to see what this chef, how did they do it? What is their special sauce? Other times I'm like, just remind me of the temperature and the base ingredients, and I know the rest.
You beat me there, because that's where I was going with it. Is that like recipes are a form of procedure?
Yeah.
And there are the other time that I go into proper pages outside of opinion and those types of things is when I'm doing something that requires documentation that is very specific.
Yeah.
Where I want to be really, really sure that what I'm reading is exactly right and it hasn't been mashed up. Because it's even as good as Google and Gemini and ChatGPT and Anthropic, and I use all three of those. I don't use Grok, so maybe Grok is amazing, and I'm just not familiar with it. As good as they've gotten, they definitely still lead you down the wrong path a little bit sometimes, and sometimes it's in a critical place.
And this comes to, so if you sell, so I have customers who sell one giant application, and it's like a SaaS, and that you get the kind of the version that's out there. Yeah. And so everyone wants to know what is the procedure for the latest version. And then I have customers who, every single customer is on their customized flavor.
Yeah.
They might be using, like, if there's 10 modules that make up the application, they're on different versions of the same modules. They have set their options differently. So there are many clients where AI search, like Google style AI search, would be hideously bad.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the things another of my unwritten published articles about the tyranny of the content popularity contest.
Right.
So I have some customers who are like, yeah, the answer that 90% of people want is the answer that we should surface. And then they have other populations where 90% of the people don't care what the other 90% want. They do not care. They want their needle in a haystack.
Yeah.
And a probability machine that takes the most popular answers and the most popular questions and then synthesizes that and gives you, this is what you probably want. That's literally the opposite of what they're looking for. They're like, I need to know the answer to my question in my context, and everything else is noise and irritation. And I think that it's, as we're passing the most rampant part of the hype cycle, we have to start to have those discussions about like which AI, implemented by whom, controlled by whom, according to whose guardrails, and those are the discussions we have to have now, as opposed to the just sort of random let's jam it in there question discussions.
Yeah, and this is where like how reuse and structure comes into play, and like how AI is set up as a channel. I think where the rubber really hits the road, because like we have all those cases too, where we have some customers who like they basically have one version, that's what they publish, and the entire equation for them is like getting that one version, refreshed properly, indexed properly, and exposed in the right way to their customers in a really efficient way. Is like that's all they need. Mm-hmm. But then we have other customers, and I think that like this is really the direction of like where enterprise goes, why like these things are so hard in enterprise, where the same procedure is used in 20 products. Those products change by customer. There's languages, et cetera. And the procedure changes somewhere between 1% and 20% based on the product. And if you deliver, so when somebody searches for something and you deliver the procedure in an AI response for not their product, like that's actually a critical mistake.
Yeah.
So the idea that you need to be able to, one, reuse it, because like when something is changed that's in a common module, like a common portion of those products or a common aspect of one of the procedures, you really need the governance. Like you need to know that it changed in all the places, especially in an AI world, because like now it's going into a probability engine. And like if you have one version that's the right version and 9 versions that are the wrong version, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
But you also need it from the perspective of, well, we need that exact version. Like we need that one to show up. So we need to indicate to the user what they're looking at, regardless of the UI that they're actually coming to that information through. So that means that on pages, it's titles, tags, whatever you want to, however you want to do that indication. Location, it could just be that the table of contents has the name of the product that you're on, right? And in the context of AI, it's going to be, I think the way this looks in the future is like schema.org metadata.
Mm-hmm.
You have the product in the schema.org metadata. And if the AI you're using today isn't sophisticated enough to see that when it goes to retrieve an answer, that it's getting the same answer in multiple places and they have different product tags, it's going to be very soon.
I hope so. One of the issues for TechCom is that we have always been, I guess, a little bit underserved by the wider world of search or these kind of tools, because the vast majority of commerce is fine with a good enough answer.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're the ones who are going, no, we need actually the absolute right, correct answer. So like, yeah, doctors Google for stuff, but they're definitely going to read the pages. Like there's, if we work a lot in pharma as well. And there's a necessity for specificity and context, and you can't mix up 2 popular ailments or treatments or et cetera. So the kind of issue is it's never been really Google's problem or Meta's problem, or like they're not really in the business of that. They're in the business of helping you find the right restaurant or t-shirt or, so we have to kind of fight for that. And I don't quite know if that, I hope so. I hope that that's going to be worked out soon, but I know that we're lower down on the priority list for.
Yeah, I think this is necessarily going to be a place that organizations have to innovate intentionally. They're getting, a lot of the AI systems are getting better at citing sources. And you hope that people who are doing highly technical searches are going to be willing to click on links.
Yeah.
And that takes you to, the actual source of that information. And then they can make the determination about whether or not they're on the right product, they're on the right version, wherever it may be. So I think in some ways, the AI answers are going to be preview-ish indications, maybe enough in some circumstances, but they are still going to be a search result in a lot of ways that takes you to the source.
Well, let's jump forward to the paradigm a little bit. So if we fast forward a few years, I anticipate the personal assistant AI to be a very big thing.
And when you say personal assistant, can you define that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. So I'll paint you a picture.
Oh, good.
Right. So let's visualize. So we go to Google, put in our search, an AI tells us which pages to look at, and we choose from those and we read them. So humans are talking to humans mediated by a search algorithm, which optimizes which pages to transmit between the humans. Now we're at the AI search as it is today, where a human puts a search into Google and gets an AI synthesis of human stuff. So the AI is taking a much bigger chunk. It's not just choosing what you see, not choosing which human pages you see. It's actually writing a little page just for you. What I see going forward is that we're going to have our agent, which talks to, instead of us going to, as we do today, Perplexity and Google and and ChatGPT to put in our searches, we're going to have our agent, which we have a lot more control over, which is going to negotiate with those agents to get us our answers. And I think that's an opportunity, because I think that in a business context, the ability to have those agents where, you're giving an agent to your people and telling that agent to check for these things always, or being able that agent will be able to manage your context. Because if you imagine, you're not going to put into like all that context into these things. It's annoying to have to put in so much specificity into your query. Like when I have a question, I want to ask my question. Right. I don't want to put 12 tags on my questions or have to write 4 sentences of a description of what context. So my AI should know my context, or be able to take, with very little guidance from me, translate that into a lot of context, which you can then talk to other AIs to get me my answer.
Yeah, and so I guess history repeats itself or it rhymes. This is very similar to the difference between like, why do we still have search on help sites, like internal help sites, and why did Google search fail so miserably as an enterprise appliance? And it's because on Google search, you want to just like put an answer, like a question in and get a list of results, very general. But in the enterprise setting, you want to run a search and then refine. And like maybe all that refinement is captured in knowledge of you, your circumstance, like surrounding information. Maybe it's coming from a context graph, I don't know. But I think that refinement is still there in the AI search systems. And like that's going to be the fundamental difference between like, why would you use a company's AI or your AI over a public AI?
A couple of things there. First, what's been great the past few years is I'm seeing Google start to do refinement. It's actually pulling up tags across the top. It doesn't do like a full taxonomy or like list of filters on the left, the way that you get it on Amazon. Right. But but it's realizing this. It is a bit like it was too, like, just finding the right few pages and top few hits was becoming untenable. So that's why you get are you talking about images? If you're looking for a movie, do you want the cast? Do you want the reviews? Do you want the videos about the movie? So like it's bringing up those options to help you refine. But you as a business can't publish your filters to Google and say, when people are searching my site, this is what they're going to want to narrow down by. Maybe that's a thing. We'll see.
I don't think that ever becomes a thing.
I don't think so either. But from what I said earlier, I don't think that's Google's business model.
Totally. But
I think you're right, and that I think we're agreeing on that. Is that in the enterprise, just finding a popular page based on Google's type of algorithms was not workable, and being able to, even in the age of AI, get a ton of options and then say, okay, well, no, I do want this product line. I did mean this, and that can also still be a dialogue as opposed to one big, getting all right in the first question.
Yeah, I think it does become a dialogue. I think the critical piece so if you kind of like roll it back to like, how does this relate to an information developer? Like what's their piece of this journey? And the critical piece is making that information available enough that the dialogue or the search facets or whatever the experience may be. So maybe it's hooking into some type of a graph system. Maybe it's part of, just inferred out of the AI dialogue. Maybe it's a facet in a search. Like, who cares, right? It really comes down to, as long as that information, that metadata is available in the source and it's accurate and comprehensive enough that you're able to build those downstream systems, I think you're going to be able to have success in those places.